How are you doing? I hope everyone is doing well. Nowadays, we are having a difficult situation because there is a virus that spreads among us. If there were no coronavirus, we wouldn't have an online class. I'll repeat, if there were no coronavirus, we wouldn't have an online class now. This sentence is an example of second conditional sentence. That's the topic that we're gonna discuss today. So, let's go. First, we will see the form of second conditional sentence. The form consists of if clause and main clause. If clause should consist of if plus subject plus verb to. So if clause is using past simple tense. The emphasis is in the use of verb to after the subject. And then the main clause is using past future. It consists of subject plus would plus verb 1. Remember, subject plus would plus verb 1. For example, if more cities had these laws, America would become a better place to live. In if clause, we find if and then subject more cities and then the verb had from the first verb have. And then in the main clause, we have subject America would plus verb 1 become. And then the next example, if I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. The first clause or the if clause consists of if, subject I, and then verb to won from the first verb win. And the main clause consists of subject I, and then it is followed with would plus verb 1 travel around the world. So remember, after would it should be followed by verb 1. You should notice how a comma is used after the past tense clause. So after the if clause, we need to put comma. And would can only be found in the main clause, not in if clause. Well, let's talk about the function. The function of second conditional sentence first is to talk about a present situation which is impossible to happen. Untuk membahas mengenai keadaan saat ini yang tidak mungkin terjadi. It is very unlikely for the condition to be fulfilled. Situasi tersebut tidak mungkin terpenuhi, tidak mungkin terjadi. Like in my earlier example, if there were no coronavirus, we wouldn't have an online class. Jika saja tidak ada virus corona, kita tidak akan melakukan perkuliahan online. Tetapi keadaan saat ini, virus corona sedang berkembang di masyarakat, sehingga perkuliahan harus kita lakukan secara online. Another example, if I had his number, I would call him. The if clause consists of if, subject I, and then verb to had, And then in the main clause we have subject I and then would followed by verb 1 call. It becomes, if I had his number, I would call him. Jika saja saya memiliki nomornya, saya akan menelponnya. But what's the reality? I don't have his number now, so it's impossible for me to call him. The reality, saya tidak memiliki nomornya sekarang, sehingga saya tidak bisa menelponnya. So, once again, second conditional sentence is used to talk about a present situation which is impossible to happen. The next functions of second conditional sentence is to talk about things in the future that are probably not going to be true. In other words, it's only imagining something. For example, if I met the Queen of England, I would say hello. So it is quite impossible for me to meet the Queen of England. Therefore, I only imagining. The first clause or the if clause here we have if and then subject I and verb to met. After that, in the main clause we have subject I, would, followed by verb 1 say. In the second conditional sentence, we can also reverse the order. At the previous one, we put if clause at the beginning of the sentence. But if in this order, we put if clause in the middle of the sentence. The formula will be subject plus would plus verb 1 as the main clause, which is using past future, and then it is followed by if clause, which consists of if plus subject plus verb 2. It is using past simple. And then at the end, we need period or full stop. That's not comma, I'm so sorry. Let's see the example. I would reduce the salaries of all politicians if I became the president. So, the main clause is located at the beginning of the sentence and then it is followed by if clause in the middle of the sentence. The next example, I would go to the party if I didn't have a headache. Saya akan pergi ke pesta jika saja saya tidak sakit kepala. So the main clause, we have subject I and then would plus verb 1 go. And in the if clause, we have if plus subject I and then plus the verb 2, but it is negative form, didn't have. So we don't say I don't have, but we say I didn't have because we should use past simple. That's for the negative form. Notice how the comma is not necessary with this word order. So if you put the main clause at the beginning of the sentence, you don't need to put comma after that main clause. Next, sometimes we also use to be in the second conditional sentence. We need to remember that in past simple, to be consists of was and were. But in the form of second conditional sentence, all subject in if clause used to be were. For example, if I were not in debt, I would quit my job. The if clause consists of if, subject I, and then verb were. The verbs over there is in the form of to be. Usually, to be that is following a subject I is was. But in this condition, we have to use to be were. In the following clause, we find subject I and then would plus verb 1 quit. Another example, if he were taller, he would be accepted into the team. He is followed by to be were, not was, because it is showing second conditional sentence. Or we can also use another forms or another order of second conditional sentence by putting the if clause in the middle of the sentence. For example, she would still be correcting my grammar if she were still alive. Remember, would is found in the main clause, not in the if clause. Well, another thing that we often find in second conditional sentence is the use of modal could. Could can be used instead of would to make the hypothetical present or future more likely. So in some situation, we can replace would with could to show the possibility. For example, if he trained every day, he could represent his country. In the if clause, we use the verb to train, and then in the main clause, we don't find would, but we use modal could, and it is still followed by verb 1. The next example, if I had a little more money, I could buy a car. After I, in the if clause, we have verb to had from verb 1 have, and then in the main clause we use modal could instead of would, and it is followed by verb 1 by. That's about the theory of the second conditional sentence. To check your understanding, let's have a practice. The first one, we, remember, we see the main clause at the beginning of the sentence. So we need would and also verb 1. We would have you if we knew how. What about the second one? Please think the answer for the second sentence. My brother would buy a sport car if he, it should be followed by verb 2, had the money. I'll repeat. My brother would buy a sport car if he had the money. Then the next example. If clause is located at the beginning of the sentence, so after the subject, we need verb to. What is the verb to from feel? Yeah, it's felt. If I felt better, I would go to the cinema with you. What about the fourth sentence? As the form, because the form is using verb to in if clause, so we need to know what's the second verb from go. Yeah, it's when. If you went by bike more often, you would not be so flabby. I repeat, you would not be so flabby because it is negative sentence. So, would not be. And the last one, she, it should be followed by verb 2. How to make negative form in past simple. We use didn't. She, sorry, it is the main clause, so we have to use would. She would not talk to you if she were mad at you. I will repeat, she wouldn't talk to you if she were mad at you. You should remember that be in a second conditional sentence is using were for all the subject. Alright, that's all for our discussion today. See you in another opportunity and goodbye.